Hey, 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 be sure and thumbs up and share. We've got some great info coming your way tonight. And of course, we're waiting on my delay. Hope everybody had a wonderful Easter weekend. Hey there, Miss Trinity and Miss CJ. Y'all popped in at the same time. Thank you, Miss CJ, for that beautiful advertisement you did. Appreciate it. Barefoot Lass, Kevin Fugel fam. And whoops, Serafina, let's go by so fast. CC, Scam Family, Donna, MG, Lovely 144, Nathan Kitts. How are you? I hope everybody's doing great. Ooh, can y'all hear me all right? Yeah, I don't have eBay on screen. I don't think I need my earphones. Um, Staff, Mo, Petra, Carolyn, American, Sister, Hodgepodge, Christy H. You're freezing there? It's cold here. Scam family, it is cold. It hasn't warmed up since. Glad to see my face. Who's glad to see my face? Who said that? Carolyn Lowe. I missed you, didn't I? Did I speak to you? Yes, I'm so excited. Now, this Brandy Weems. Hey, darling. Loud and clear. Thank you, lovely. I don't think any of us could get enough of Eric. When that Friday night, Marf's last caller, hey, police want to help a trucker unload with Corona test kits. He was told to unlock his tractor from the trailer and leave it. He was to be in Maryland today. Trailer still sitting. I sure hope he got permission from somebody before he unhooked that trailer and left it satin. Susie Q from North Carolina. How are you, darling? Our other Susie Q don't come around very much, just every once in a while. But we love you just as much. Sweet Jenna. Donna D, did I speak to you? So good to see everybody. I'm telling you what, I have missed so much since I've been sick. Everybody's forgetting that I go live, except my wonderful lovelies that just stick by me from the beginning all the time. But y'all remember Eric talked about how they can track diseases in urine and water memory, and everybody in chat was just going crazy about all that stuff. So I was hoping to get 2 hours in tonight. Unfortunately, hi living, hi there. Um, and Team Angel, how are you? What does GETSO stand for? Somebody else uses that at the end of their name, and I don't know what that means. Thank you, Susie Q. I have multiple sclerosis and amethyst blue, honey. And I had a pretty bad relapse in January, and it has kicked my butt. I had such time getting over it. Miss J Stone 78. How are you, darling? Helen Dixon, Amy Reiser, a guy in my town of 40 to 50 people, has CV, has recovering well. Him and his brother in law got it from a funeral. Oh man. Mm-mm-mm. Kevin Fugel fam, how are you? Casual preparedness. Everybody's popping in. Listen, while we're waiting, I wanted to say hello to everybody. I told Eric that I wanted to get my hellos in. I do an intro Not an outro or a shoutro. I do my little intro. Snapper B, it's good to see you. Alyssa, let's see. I have news for you. Y'all should go and watch the latest video. It is Rally News Live. You can trust the woman she interviewed. She is true blue. You can trust me too, Alyssa. I never lie to nobody. Give you my opinion, get sassy every once in a while. But yeah, after we're over, absolutely. We need all the information we can get. Eva Marie Moore Jurison. I don't know, but I'm horrible with names. Neighbor is setting fireworks off. Did they start arresting? I have heard they've started the arrests. Miss Lisa R. Hall, yes. You listen, don't watch. Orders from headquarters. Love you, Miss Lisa R. Hall. Joe Biden only wants a hug and a kiss. Oh my gosh. You're bad. Texan, how are you, buddy? I do want to give y'all an opinion though, or two. My 2 cents worth. I want to get a little sassy and spicy. El Michelle, hi honey. Um Tracker, hey buddy, how are you? Um, I didn't say, oh, you lied to anyone. I'm just saying the woman that Steve and Jen interviewed are true blue. She was news. Okay. That's okay. Listen, I don't get mad or upset. I just get sassy and joke. So you don't pay me no attention. I just joke around. Uh, that's okay. I'm just kidding around with you. I'm gonna go watch it too. Libo Hound 0311. That's my oldest son. And I know I put it in my Discord, but I don't think I've had a live that I've said anything. Um, I'm a new grandma because of Libo Hound. Little boy. Spitting image of Libo Hound when he was born. Spitting image. I mean to tell you. He's had a few little problems. He's in NICU for a few days. Can't wait to hold him, be like holding his daddy again. Ellie, how are you, honey? But anyway, what I wanted to get a little spicy with y'all about, so I won't be concentrating on so much um, of the chat. What do y'all think about that flag and that presidential seal not being flag's gone to the back left of the presidential seal's gone? What do y'all think about that? I haven't seen a whole lot of people talking about that. I noticed it the first time I watched the stupid thing. And then today, did anybody watch him talk today? He kept saying the president. The president had true power. The president this, the president that. Like he was speaking about himself in, I don't know, third person. It was just really, really, hey, Tim Boggs. It was really odd. Invader. Hey there. Um, so there I'm gonna do a live about this. There is some things that could be going on that apparently we had an act that was voted in 2000, and that special day in September kind of Murphy's Law. Hi there, honey. Put a stop to that. And um, I told y'all way back that 50-50 shot, the virus was real. I believe the virus of some kind is real. But that I really truly believe that virus was a distraction. 100%. I believe that now. I can say that beyond a shadow of a doubt. That's what I believe. No guessing. Sweet dreams. How are you? Um, let's see. Israeli news says he doesn't have presidential power anymore. Well, let me tell you, here's the deal. And I don't know where it is. I saw it a long time ago. I'm not even sure how to find it again, but I'm going to do some digging. Our last president signed an agreement with the UN that if the United States ever went under, um, excuse me, national um, state of emergency, that our Constitution would be suspended and that the UN would have control. Everybody, everybody, so many pictures from so many states have seen UN troops, vehicles in many, 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 many states. Okay. We know for a fact that was proven when I reported it back when that we had 100,000 UN troops staged in Cuba, just waiting to make their entrance to wherever we needed them. Now, that was December. I told y'all that. I remember now when the president has others speaking with him, he does not use the presidential seal. He only uses it when gives speech by himself and takes no questions from the press. Well, Susie Q, if you go to the YouTube channel White House and you look at the thumbnails all the way down from these COVID conferences, it was there, it was there, it was there, it was there, it wasn't there, it was there, it was there, it wasn't there, it wasn't there, it wasn't there, it was there, it was there, and then boom, no more. Some people thought maybe he was in a bunker. Hey, Bones, how are you, babe? Oops, I missed somebody. Where did it go? Wilfred, how are you? So, today he kept saying the president, the president, the president. And then he said, well, if I need to, I will. Um, Mike Pence has always said President Trump. Today he very carefully, when he spoke, Leon asked, hi there. I just could hear, but the virus and other things are mentioned. Yes, I said that. Said that. January. I said it's a distraction. Something bigger's coming. Becky Phipps, hi there. How are you? Um, but I said in January it was a distraction. Knew it was a distraction. We needed to be preparing. Then Bones came on with me. That's either the end of January, 1st of February. So we started talking about if they started quarantines, if they closed any highways, how with China being closed down, that our warehouses would empty, therefore the distribution centers would empty, therefore the trucks couldn't be loaded, the stores would be empty. I was told by 3 store managers last week that every item on the shelves that is limited to 1 or 2 items per customer per day are the items that they are trying to distribute evenly and slowly because those are the items that they're going to run out of first. Now, milk is being limited. Hey, Mahanja? I don't know. I didn't say that right. I know I didn't say that right. Karen and 11 Pagan 11. Hi there, Phil Billy. Hey, buddy. Um, Brandy Williams, did it get you? Jeep Girl. I don't think I got you, babe. Crazy Granny. Hi, honey. Good to see ya. Um, they're pouring out thousands and thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of gallons of milk in the Midwest. When they bailed the farmers out at one point, they made them agree that they would 250,000 gallons of milk being dumped a day. There you go. Um, they made them agree that they would use the same manufacturer for pasteurization and bottling. And the manufacturer for the pasteurization and bottling says, "Nope, nope, don't want your milk," and they're dumping it. Oh, well, thank you there. Appreciate I appreciate all my new people. Yes, I do. Thank you so much. You get a little bit of everything with this channel. You never know. We'll just sit and chat and talk. We'll have callers call in with just different opinions and overbuild automotive. Hi, honey. Haven't seen anybody in a while. Can't say I haven't seen you in a while because I haven't seen anybody in a while. Don't go live very much. Sorry about that. Tracy, hi there. Why would they dump so much milk when there are people? You tell me. You tell me. Um, know somebody that got laid off of their job but got to keep their health insurance? I think it's the bailouts or stimulus. I think it has something to do with the stimulus. And how better to control people. Now, all of us that have always said for years, we're going to have 24 to 48 hours notice. We are on top of all this. We're going to know when something is happening. Thank you, all 100 of you. I appreciate you so much. Um, to go where we need to go, do what we need to do. Nobody ever thought that they would pull something like this. Nobody. They've got the world shut down right now. And to control the people, you control the food. My butcher told me that if he was still in business by the end of April, 1st of May, he was going to be very surprised that he had 3 cuts of meat he could not get from his distributor. We've got egg shortages, milk shortages, bread shortages. Yes, it is no longer. I had the manager at Kroger's to tell me that it is not panic buying. There is actually a toilet paper shortage. One of the chemicals, hi Kelly, 2334. One of the chemicals that they use to process our toilet paper, they get out of China and they're running out of it. So we're going to be without toilet paper. Um, our illustrious president went for the first time to India. I had already told y'all that the world's 2 largest, um, oh, Mama J. Mama J. I'm dyslexic, so overlook me, Mama J. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I'm sorry. Oh my goodness. 42. Mama J, 42. Aren't that's cute. They need to turn all the faucets on the food and dairy only feeds the workers. Well, we're not going to have any blueberries and several berries and all kinds of berries. They're rotting on the vines because our farmers cannot get American workers to go out in the fields and pick the fruit that we do have. And we do not produce enough food or fruit for the United States. We get a great deal of our fruit out of Guatemala, actually, a few countries in South America. And we're going to have, I'm already seeing a fruit shortage in the stores. And some of the fruit's old. Onions are old. Potatoes are old. Um, there's definitely a pork shortage. You have to remember Vanessa Dommins. Hi, honey. How are you? Good to see you, babe. Um, and don't feel bad if y'all. I know sometimes I speak a little special to somebody. These are people that have been with me since day one. June 11th will be my hello. I'm live on my channel. What are you doing? I'm live on my channel. What you need? Did he what? Derek took it to bring it back to you. Yeah, he told me. Okay. No, he's got it to give back to you. Okay, bye-bye. Okay. Papa's worried about where a missing stuffed animal was for grandbaby. He never calls, so I know when he calls, it's important he wants something, so I apologize for that. Starfire 3, just speak to you. I'm a Glover. Hi there. So anyway, I'm going to do a live that I do not quite know how I'm going to present the information because it can take you down many, many, many rabbit holes. And it involves a lot of words that we cannot say. But I do not believe that our president has full control of his office right now. I do believe that there is some type of suspension on our Constitution because of the federal state of emergency. I do know from talking to too many store managers that we have some. Hey, Eric Elliott, love you too, honey. Um, major shortages, and we need to be preparing for the shortages. I think that anybody, Pro Carry Trucker, how are you? Good to see you. Um, I think if you have a bug out location, I think everyone needs to plan, and you'll understand this after I do my next live. It's going to take a little bit of major summarizing and figuring out how to, they are? I've had some comments from Kathy Payne, but, um, I didn't think she used that term, ML, and I'm not talking about much love either. But I am gonna do a live on that. I need to figure out the terminology to use. Don't want to lose my channel right now. But I do really believe, and I even talked to Libo Hound about this earlier this evening, that if anybody has a bug out location or can get one, I really believe that they're going to start to open some counties in some states. They may even open some states that have very low numbers and no deaths. And that is only going to be to pacify people, to show them there's hope, this lockdown is going to end. This lockdown is not going to end. There was an act that was signed. I think I've already said this, but for people just coming in 2000, that was supposed to have been enacted, but it was foiled by what happened in September. It is like Snafu Snap says in WO minus Hulk Hogan. It's exactly what it looks like. It is socialism at its best. 18 months, you think we have? If they put that act into place, there has to be an election within 120 days. And it's not going to be the same kind of election that we are used to. So I am going to put that together for you all and present that information and do a live, because we need to know this. I think the 120-day mark from the time they would enact it till the election has to be held would be July 5th. I'm not even sure they'll let us have an Independence Day. It's supposed to do away with the incorporation of the United States. We will own our birth certificates. We will own our land. Lynn, at the Ann Lynn Show. Hi, darling. There's a lot of things in that act that makes it look very attractive. But um, it's got the one world money in it. This is NWO minus Hulk Hogan, trust me. So I want everybody reading between the lines. Listen to how the president refers to himself in third person. Mike Pence has always said President Trump, President Trump, President Trump. Today it was the president, the president, the president. Um, it's it's really getting to be odd how things are being played out. Survival living. Did I speak to you? Oh, that's what I was going to say. Ellis Holmes says, speak to you. See, when you hear the phrase for the health and well being, it is a code for suspension of the Constitution that is explained in the latest interview that I told you to watch. Okay. All right. Yeah. And the flag thing being gone. And it was there when he had his committee. It doesn't matter if the president's speaking, he's got his flag and his seal. It was there. Not, go to YouTube, to the White House channel. Look at those thumbnails. You can see starting March 13th, I think it was. It was there, not there, there, not there. There, not there, not there, not there. You could look at those thumbnails and then boom, it's gone. It's gone. And last Thursday or Friday, I can't remember. If you will fast forward and go to where Trump leaves the stage, he's always been waving and, looking at the press, walking the stage. Then he looks down, takes a step down, and sometimes he even turns and gives a last wave. That man stepped from that podium, dropped his head, never raised his head again. He looked like a defeated man. I'm not telling you he's the greatest man in the world. I'm not telling you I'm the biggest fan in the world. I'm not telling you I hate him. I just, my background is to read body language. And he's given code, y'all. He has given some major code. Um, oh, Pro Carry Truckers coming by. Let me go back and see. Are you anywhere near? Yes, yes, yes. Do you go? Are you going to be going 77 all the way to Virginia, Pro Care Trucker? Because if you are, you can tell me what time and send me an email. I'll send you my number. It's wvpem at protonmail.com. And I'll meet you somewhere. Real convenient. It's real convenient. Truck stop. Yes, I'd love to meet you. Farming Mama 5. Hi there. How are you? Okay, y'all. I've said all I'm going to say. I've given you a little teaser about the live that I've got to do for you all. And I've got to do it in a way that nobody comes knocking at my door. I don't disappear. But I want everybody to be thinking I am serious. I mean, I told y'all the virus was a distraction. Told you. I've given y'all hints that I told you was my 2 cents worth. It is my 2 cents worth. It is based upon my observations. But trust me when I tell you, if you have a bug out location, you need to be preparing between now and July. They're going to open some states. They're not going to open up all the states. They may even just open up counties in states. Hey, Virginia Prepper. Good to see you, honey. Hey, Bones. I spoke to you. I've seen you speak twice now. I don't think you heard me, baby. But it's getting ready to get real. If they do that act, it's going to have to be around July the 4th, 5th, 6th, something like that. that Fauci, whatever that little guy is on that committee, I despise him. I can't learn his name because I despise him. He has mentioned now that when you go to get your driver's license renewed, you might need to have a Jack's card with you. V and instead of the J, not Jacks. Y'all know what I'm saying when I say Jacks. There are certain words we can't say. Y'all know what I'm saying. Instead of J for the Jacks, put a V on front of it. You'll know what I'm saying. Speaking of code, if Eric needs to talk about what CJ Blaze talks about all the time, her tower, that big 5 tower, he's going to say 57. And that's because Miss CJ told me, of course, the 5 stands for the tower. And the letter, well, let me get it right for y'all, is number 7 in the gematria stuff. So we're going to call it 57. Yes, that's who it is, Starfire. I despise him. That little weasel, I just like to pound him on top of the head and go ahead and sink him on in the ground. Not that I'm a violent person, but man, Trump was mad at him. I hope they get rid of him. Okay, I'm going to shut up and I'm going to put Eric on here and he's going to go on with his call that he had for Marf. And Miss CJ Blaze has on her channel his call. She did the little advertisement. His call is on there, or you can go to Marfoogle, marfooglenews.com, where they have all of the videos for every live, every article listed, every caller's information listed if they have a channel, and watch all of Friday night's show. And Eric was the last caller. So, having said that, I am going to get him on the phone now. And we're going to see what he has to say. And I'm going to shut up.
Hello.
Hey, Mr. Eric, you are live on speaker with West Virginia Prepared Minds, and we have 123 in chat so far.
Nice. Shout out to West Virginia.
Thank you. Thank you. Everybody's real excited to hear what you have to say.
Excellent. Well, I ended up calling Adam's show, Marfoogle News, the other night. I just want to get people kind of more aligned into the times that we're living in. And it's interesting because I believe these times that we're living in are very, very critical because everything that happened in Star Trek is in our back pocket today.
Yes, from what you're telling me, it is.
Well, and what I've expressed to you is water has memory, and water can communicate memory of what it's been exposed to. An example of what I gave you is that when a bioagent or a string of DNA comes in contact with water, that water holds the frequency of the DNA with or without the DNA in the water to keep presenting it. So water keeps vibrating. It's almost like if you walked by a piano and you touched middle C and walked away, well, C would continue vibrating even below what you can hear, but it would still be vibrating forever.
That's just crazy.
Well, yes and no, but the way that I see it, and the scientific community is coming up with theories to comprehend it. And in all reality, we can drop back to Genesis in the Bible, and there was movement, and then God said, "Let there be light." But light is a form of radio frequency that passes in each wavelength, a bottom dead center and a top dead center, and we don't know exactly if it's bottom or top when light becomes a mass particle and then phases back into pure energy again. But light is blinking on and off mass energy, mass energy, mass energy. And a lot of this stuff is just speculation and conjecture in the scientific community. We're just guessing. We're throwing darts behind our back. And being human and being blessed, we get some of the answers right. And in quantum theory, they stumbled across the observer effect. And the observer effect, pretty much in quantum theory, and this isn't going to be perfected by no means, but it's when you take a measurement, you will get a measurement. So quantum theory describes whatever you look for, you're going to see.
Right.
And this is truly the crux of creation, in my opinion. And you can drop to the radio technology of this man who won the Nobel Peace Prize in the 2000s, early 2000s, and he took up the work from this man who I believe was murdered. And you can look this up by Googling or going to YouTube search and looking up water memory. And then you can also go to Wikipedia and look up PCR technology. And PCR technology is the assembly technology to assemble all 4 attributes of the ribonucleic acid into genomes.
Right.
So it's really important to comprehend that what you see today, the military is eons past what you see. And we've had electric cars. I'm here in Colorado. I know we still have electric cars in our museums that are from the 1800s.
Okay.
Yeah, like the 1800s. Like Elon Musk did not invent something new. He perfected it, no doubt, but we've had it in our museum for over 100 years. An electric car.
Gosh, I didn't know that.
What's that?
I said, I didn't know that.
Sure, you can look this up. You can Google it. Electric Cars Museum, Denver, Colorado.
Well, there's a lot of special stuff about Denver. That airport troubles everybody. And what could be under it?
Yeah, well, Stapleton wasn't any better. And how we know this is because Stapleton became a United Nations city. Stapleton International Airport. So the United Nations have had their pulse on Colorado since Tesla. Before the United Nations was made, these people in the military and in industry were moving quickly.
Hang on a second. You said the United Nations made the Denver airport their city?
It was called Stapleton International Airport. And if you Google United Nations and Stapleton International Airport, you'll probably get the information I'm talking about. But it's a United Nations city within, it's like an insular within the boundary of Colorado. Does that make sense?
Yes, because we have a London city within the city of London. We have Vatican City within the city of Rome.
Sure.
So that's what you're talking about. New York
Absolutely.
City. Yeah.
Yeah, and in law, a lot of things are described as insular.
Hey, hold on just one second. Hey, Say, I know that's you now. Yes, and you're from Melbourne, Australia. Okay. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
I didn't know
shout out
last
to the
time.
Aussies.
She changed her screen name. I didn't know she was last time. So
that's wonderful. I'm glad that people are joining us from across the world because we really, as we the people, and I consider myself a child of God, we need to hold hands. We need to reach out and be accepting of our neighbors, our brothers and our sisters.
We have a few from Australia and the UK and Scotland and Canada. We've got
Sure.
them all over the United States and several countries that watch me.
Yeah, so if you look up sewer water testing for coronavirus.
Yeah, y'all listen to this.
Yeah, so the government now is testing sewer water to find out if your building or your block is positive for coronavirus. And there's a few different ways and methods, we'll just say scientifically and theoretically, because some of the stuff I'm going to talk about tonight, I want to speak in the theoretical terms because I can't give you citations of where you can find it because the military still possesses this.
Okay.
And the USPTO, the United States Patent and Trade Office, may not be able to relinquish the art involved in some of the things I say. But as I sent you tonight, that link to the optic radio comm.
Oh, do you want me to pull that up?
Sure, you can pull that up for everyone.
Okay.
And what this is it's an example of communication through light technology. It's a walkie-talkie that communicates through fiber optic. And because light is a light particle, when it becomes the particle in its phase component in space-time, that particle is vibrating. But when the light comes in contact with another vibration, it actually uptakes that message in that harmonic vibration and continues on to be light plus whatever it came into contact with. Well, the reason why I'm showing you this is because it's the same with water. Water technology, water memory, is vibrating at whatever it came into contact with. So if it came into contact with a person, say with the coronavirus, it would have that resonant frequency of coronavirus. If they had HIV, you could find out they have HIV from the sewer water that they urinated into or touched with their hand.
That is just crazy to me. Just crazy.
Well, it keeps going on. Herpes, the common cold. We could get into the flora of your intestinal system because all those microbes have their particular frequencies. So we could reassemble, using PCR technology, every vibration that is discernible in a sample of water.
I had forgotten to pull up the email, so I had to log into my email.
Okay.
And I'm getting ready to pull those walkie-talkies up for you to explain to them what they are.
Yeah, so this walkie-talkie system is just using a vibration called your voice, and it's impregnating it onto a photon. And the photon, it could be a laser spectrum photon, it could be white light, it could be infrared, it could be red, it could be to the blue spectrum. Different spectrums have different potentials, which allow frequencies or vibrations to hold or be more pronounced within their spectrum or less pronounced when you're looking for them. And what I mean by that is this technology
it's not showing.
Say again?
My screen share isn't working.
Oh, no.
I don't know.
Well, in Jesus Christ's name, let it work. Let it all transpire like it needs to.
I don't know what the problem
How's that
is.
for computer tech?
That is awesome. Listen, we're Jesus-believing Christians here. Yes, sir, everybody.
Well, and you don't have to.
We'll pray for anybody in a heartbeat.
Yeah, my God does not demand that you have to follow him. He just lets you know that it's proper.
Yeah. Oops.
You have free will. And it's interesting because the story is an old story. There are many similar events in history before Jesus Christ was written about. And it's interesting to me because there are some parts in the Holy Scriptures that that tickle me pink. Like, when Jesus called out to Legion, "What is your name?" And then he sent the spirits into the swine, and the swine ran off the cliff and died. And it's a very similar story, in several parts of the Bible, like Job, when Job needed to be protected, so God killed his children and his animals and servants. So you will get what you asked of God, and God will get what he wants.
Yes.
Because
believe that you will receive that which you ask, and it shall be given unto you. I've got the walkie-talkies up. $1,178.10. That doesn't include tax and shipping and handling. So explain to us why this is a problem.
Well, it's not a problem. It's a tool.
Okay.
So, but a tool can become a problem.
Right.
So it's just like guns. Guns don't kill people, but I guarantee you put them in the wrong hand, and they will be a part of the equation.
Oh, well, yeah.
So, but they can also protect your family, and they'll be a part of that good equation also.
Yes.
And I don't recommend nor deny anyone a tool, because, you can hurt someone with a pair of chopsticks.
Well, I just found out recently that Doppler radar was developed as a military weapon, and that now they can pinpoint with Doppler radar and hear any conversation within a 20-mile radius of each individual Doppler tower.
Yeah, and Doppler's very interesting. It is an active search for something. You're actually putting power out as opposed to just listening. So yeah, it's just a part of the radio frequency. Again, and one of the problems with Doppler radar that I see is when you add power to the atmosphere, you get a different atmospheric condition in that particular focused area or focal point. And so by using Doppler radar looking for storms, I believe that you could actually create storms.
Oh, absolutely. Let me tell you.
Yes. So then we have other frequencies like this listening device that uses light that doesn't make the ambient air any hotter, but it does take your voice, translates it onto light, and then the circuitry will cancel out the light source, whether it's a class 2 laser light or a white light spectrum. It will cancel out. What will be left is your voice. So light carries all knowledge all the way from Genesis. And water comes in contact with light and has the frequency spectrum of all knowledge. And water, H2O, hydrogen and oxygen and hydrogen bond, it comes from light because all mass degrades from light spectrum. And as we know by light, mass can interchange between energy and light, or energy and mass and energy and mass. And so when you use the word light, it's kind of a loose term because light can be kinetic. And how we know this is Tesla ran experiments, Nikola Tesla ran experiments where he was snuffing out a flame using ultraviolet light spectrum. Because ultraviolet light spectrum actually it interacts with the electrons, and it's called the photovoltaic effect. And you can look this up, and it's very interesting that different frequencies of light have either kinetic or non-kinetic properties. And then they can phase into kinetic and non-kinetic, just like actual light phases from particle to energy.
Were you saying there was something special that happened with lasers? Were you the one that was talking about laser light?
Well, laser light, yeah, it's definitely an interest of mine. Was there a more specific question you had?
No, just...
Okay, well, here's an example of this tool. Now, instead of me talking into the tool, if you watch the video feed on YouTube called Water Memory, you'll see this doctor dilute the DNA of HIV into water, and he will dilute it so much that the actual virus, the HIV virus, the actual biological entity is no longer in the sample of water that he holds. But the water still has the vibration of the HIV virus. And then he places the test tube on a microphone and records its sound. And then he emails that sound across the radio frequency spectrum to another lab, and using PCR technology, they assemble that exact DNA duplicate.
That just blows my mind. I mean,
Yes. So looking at this walkie-talkie, this light walkie-talkie, instead of looking at you speaking into it, just imagine if you plugged in a microphone and had it listen to water. Or imagine if you stuck the microphone up to a person and you transmitted that person over radio frequency. You could reassemble that person in another space-time. That makes sense?
Yes, it does. It makes
So,
perfect sense.
People need to realize that, if these vectors, waterborne vectors and fluid-borne vectors hit light, they are now a light vector. If they come in contact with a radio wave, such as light or other radio waves, they are now a radio vector. And this technology is decades old, where we have laser listeners. And I believe the Supreme Court even held a hearing for it and declared that it was not trespassing, collecting light from people's residences.
We've got somebody in chat that said that is 10 with the letter G technology.
Yeah, so 10th generation, correct. So 5G is 5 generation. And if you look up this stuff in the news, our military is now arming themselves with 5th generation. And what's important about this, because I'm fairly pro-military, not necessarily everything they do, but I definitely think that it's a necessity. But the hard part, knowing when the military has 5G technology, is that they're giving away their 4G technology and arming the police.
Just normal police?
Absolutely. And they did this with 9/11. And here in Larimer County, they were given M16A1 service rifles. And if anyone has a question about what an M16A1 service rifle is it's a fully automatic, auto reloading, auto firing 223 caliber long rifle.
You talking about the AR?
Well, an AR is kind of a civilian knockoff of that platform, 223. But you can have ARs in 308. You can chamber them in different. But the upper end and the lower end of the M16A1 will show you an automatic firing, automatic reloading of a 223 caliber.
We have a question in chat for you.
Sure.
Asking if you believe that this was actually our technology or if that technology came from maybe alien beings.
Okay, well, first of all, I just don't believe in aliens, because if God made all, he made all, and nothing is alien.
Okay.
Second of all, I think some of these entities may be older than us, and it's just a developed form of us in a different space-time.
Okay.
Third of all is, if they are out there, which I'm not saying necessarily that they are, even though I've had some really interesting encounters to be questioned, they would have come into contact with light. That light could come into contact with us, and we could have all of their technology because light was exposed to their technology.
Oh,
so if we're listening to light has all the answers.
And then, of
And
course, we've got Tesla to consider. Now, supposedly Trump's dad has all of, had now his uncle or somebody in the Trump family has all of that Tesla technology.
Sure, and John G. Trump was actually a part of the Majestic 12 group, the 6 military and 6 industrialists that came together. I believe it was in the 80s to secure alien technology knowledge. And John G. Trump was the one that secured Tesla's bunks full of paper. And it's interesting because there's discrepancies within those reports, because they say that only 30 trunks were taken, 60 trunks were taken, 80 trunks were taken. And so, I believe there is, I think it's a museum in Austria or wherever Tesla was born exactly. I think there's a museum with his stuff in it now, and it's still not exact, and there are still great questions of who has what. And why I say this is that there are leaked instruments out there that I've had knowledge of that propose that John G. Trump used Tesla's technology to travel space-time and perhaps install a political position in the future.
Well, let me tell you, that's what I was going to say. I've heard that that's what the big fight was over, to see who could get to that apartment first, because the time travel information was there.
It's one thing to have information. This is why I say it's conjecture. But it's quite interesting to know that if you do have knowledge, it's one thing to know how to, make a race car, and it's a whole other thing to actually build it and drive it.
Let's see, Sassy Lass wants to know if you heard about the man in the 50s that invented the car that ran on water and was...
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, so HHO technology, or Brown's gas, is very interesting when you separate that hydrogen-oxygen bond. First of all, let's go over cavitation. Cavitation, when you actually break the bond of water, the hydrogen bond, it actually gives off a flash of light. And a lot of people might not know this, and it's worth investigating for people. Getting to the HHO technology, Brown's gas, one of the reasons why I would say this man was possibly murdered was that he not only was using Brown's gas, but even more so, he was doing it at the injector spark plug level. So he machined a spark plug that could inject HHO at particular amounts so that it was not stored in the system in great volume, but was actually made for use at that particular time reference of injection. And that's an important thing when you're talking about utility in patents, is that he figured out how to make HHO and inject it in one piece.
And we'll just say that he passed in an untimely fashion.
Yeah, whatever it may be. Yeah. More so importantly is what he left us. And HHO isn't what he left us. What he left us is that you need to make HHO, inject HHO, and burn HHO at one point using a complex mechanism like a spark plug with those attributes.
Okay,
so imagine a water line running to every spark plug, and water doesn't combust. But as soon as you hit it with electrolysis, you can separate the hydrogen bond, get oxygen and hydrogen, and now it's combustible, except for now that volume that you just made is going to be injected immediately into a cylinder head, and it's going to be fired and used, so that there's no volume of HHO that is in a reservoir form or, volume-wise to where it's dangerous. So what he did was he made it safe. And this is what's so important about that man, is he made HHO technology safe.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, because you're storing water, not HHO. And in most systems you see on the web, they're creating HHO generators, and the generators themselves are so large that they hold enough HHO to be dangerous. And why HHO is dangerous is because it's already pre-mixed. It has not been separated of the hydrogen and oxygen. So when it comes out of its state, its liquid state, into a gas state, it has such an amazing volumetric of hydrogen and oxygen. It's very flammable, explosive,
Oh,
volatile. It
yeah.
wants to change state. So volatility is something that just wants to change a state. And, since we're on that subject of changing a state, here's an example of good energy use where we get into dry steam or hyper heated steam. And they use this in meat packing plants, in HVAC systems that are very large or that have great demand for thermodynamic demand. And what happens with superheated steam is like I like to picture a cubic meter of area with one or two molecules of water, and they are traveling so fast that they're bouncing back and forth in that 1 cubic meter. And the nice thing about dry steam or superheated steam is that you can siphon off or use the thermal power output from this without condensating, without changing mass form.
Okay.
So you can take energy from this dwell curve without actually changing the water density, and so you're actually using up energy without changing mass state. And this is what's considered efficiency. High efficiency is when you don't change matter from one state to a next, and you're just taking off energy and keeping that state. You're going to have a high recovery in the cycle, in the thermal cycle.
Okay.
What other questions do we have out there?
There's a couple of comments that people believe that alien beings are actually fallen angels.
Well, that's interesting. If we look at the Holy Scriptures, we this is a great segue into Byzantine's principle. Okay. So Byzantine's principle, General Byzantine wanted to know, and this is many, many, many times ago. Byzantine wanted to know how to attack a fort or a city from all four sides without giving the position away or the order away to the enemies, such as like a flare, launching a flare, or sounding a horn. And so the mathematical principle was asked, the question was asked, and in 2018, these two young men solved it, and they applied it to what is known as hashgraph, which is very similar to Bitcoin, but it's a different method. And what this describes is the 1/3, 2/3 principle, that if Byzantine was to want to get his message to all 100 of his soldiers to attack at the same time, he would have to send more than 33.33% of his soldiers with the same message, so that it would infiltrate all 100 soldiers. Now, if he sent less, he could not guarantee the result. But if he sent 34 out of 100, you could guarantee that the saturation of that knowledge would fall throughout every soldier. So when you look biblically at it, and it's really super cool because we're just now getting the mathematical expressions re-look at the Bible and say, well, didn't God choose 1/3 the angels to fall?
Yeah.
And if Satan went with them, then mathematically we could cancel out Eve. But doesn't that mean that we still have Adam and the 2/3 angels? So when you start looking mathematically at this, the solution is always wellness, because God's always going to win out. And it's just like, the doctrine of Balak and Balaam in the Bible, where there is a negotiation over a negotiable instrument. And God says, well, you did business with the devil, Balak. You need to adhere to the business that you did. And so, Balak was forced into adhering to the negotiation, the negotiable instrument that he made with someone. So God is always going to demand that we keep our word. I think that's what we get out of the Balaam and Balak.
Okay.
And that negotiation is Pirates Law. It's the Uniform Commercial Code. Negotiation of negotiable instrument. It's everywhere in life. You're always negotiating contracts. And God just says, if you make a contract, then adhere to it.
Right.
That's all, including with the devil.
Well,
so don't make contracts with the devil.
Well, I think there's some that have, and they're seeing the writing on the wall with that mess. They're asking if they can have your email address. Some of them want to contact you.
Oh Lord, you can privately. I don't know if we want to sling it out there. It could jeopardize the web.
Okay, so anybody that wants his email address, email me, and I will forward you his email address. And everybody knows my email address, real easy, wvpm@protonmail.com. So you just put in the thing, I'd like Eric's email. That's all you have to do.
Sure.
Hey, Mary Sharp, how are you, honey? Yeah, there's a lot of people that are familiar with what you're talking about.
Absolutely. Like I said, this is decades old. And the reason I called Adam's channel was that every time I watch it, I feel that most people speaking or being present there are about 20 to 40 years in technology off. They're talking about bioagents getting released from labs as if it was like on a petri dish. And I just want to be fair with everyone that sure, it can be released in a petri dish, but I just want to let you know there's technology out there where it can be released as a radio frequency, or in the drain of the lab, a water vector, which becomes a radio frequency vector. Does that make sense?
Yeah, perfect. Somebody wants to know how far up in technology you think the government has actually progressed.
I think it's perfected right now that we're probably not going to make many more advancements for the next 1,000 years.
We just don't know what all those advancements are they've made.
Yeah, correct. Absolutely. But we in the last 50 years, I believe that we have come across so much technology and so much comprehension, especially since Max Planck, with Planck's constant, because he's the grandfather of quantum. And it's really important to comprehend what Max Planck gave to us, because what he gave to us is bigger than what Tesla gave to us.
Well, yeah, with quantum engineering.
Because anything's possible in quantum if you go and measure it. And the way I look at it, in my own private life is that I look at, well, if I'm standing here in space-time with the tape measure, what if I ask God to hold the other end of my tape measure? What if I measure everything with God in it? And the equation says that I'll always get the derivative with God in it.
Yeah, we're supposed to do that. We're supposed to have God in everything we do.
Sure, and that's why I look at quantum as taking a measurement with God with me taking the measurement. So that it can protect me, but so that I can walk in the right light with that measurement. Because, children playing out on the playground, it's not necessarily a good time. And as a father, when you look at all these children, it's sad to see the playground sometimes. It's not the happy-go-lucky place it should be. But as a parent, as a father, you know that these children are learning and they're going to be better. Mm-hmm. And you know they're deviants because, you're a father, you're a mother. And you still allow it to happen to a certain level so that they can express themselves and become better and perfected.
Right.
So I look at the military as just bad children, ornery children, and they're playing with something dangerous, and they're going to figure it out. And I hope they do before everyone dies on the playground.
Boy, that you took a leap with me on that one. Let's see. Somebody's asked if you think they can magnetize water to healing properties.
Well, first of all, water is it holds healing properties. So do you want to, accent or enunciate those healing properties? Because, the water that you drink, it may or may not have what they consider, what's the word for it? Disease markers. So disease markers are strings of DNA that have been broken down from the original form, like a virus or a bacteria. And they're just sets of DNA and RNA that are broken. And you can look at CRISPR technology and PCR technology for the breaking and assembly of this. And what happens is that water has all of that information on it. And most people who drink water are getting disease markers in their water. And if they are not, they're getting water that still has the vibration of disease and healing properties, perfection in it.
I definitely think water has healing properties.
Sure. And, some people speculate, like John Ellis, if you ever Google John Ellis, and there's a lot of contention in this direction, this rabbit hole.
Somebody says that holy water is prayed over and the frequency changes.
Sure, but what if I told you holy water might have a hydrogen bond that's greater than 104 degrees and may even be up to 114.3 degree bond angle?
Really?
Well, that's what's speculated because, a lot of the stuff in science we can only create computer modeling of. And as we know from science and history, that our models aren't necessarily perfected at all. And so therefore we should speculate even further and say, well, maybe the bond angle does get greater. What evidence is there? And I said, well, it's kind of interesting when you freeze water that it becomes larger, considering everything else in the universe becomes smaller when you freeze it. So what does it take to make water larger? I would say change its bond angle.
Okay. And we were talking about water molecules and negativity and how bread would mold if you talk to it hatefully or even put hateful words on the jar. And
yes,
I mean, there's your plants will grow. I told Ethan the other day, I went and got some plants. They're sitting in my patio door. Weather's too cold, can't plant anything. Well, I'm gonna leave them inside, but just haven't transplanted them yet. And I said, we have to talk nice to the lettuce and nice to the peppers and tomatoes, and they'll make pretty fruit for us to eat. And because I did that bread experiment, and the boys talked hateful, and the bread I was telling you, Eric, but I don't know if I've ever told the audience before. On one side of my biology classroom, there was a jar with just a slice of regular bread, and it had the word bad written on it. And the boys would go over and scream and yell and call it names and talk bad to it. And on the other side of the room was a jar with a piece of bread in it that was labeled with the letter good on it. No, one was love, one was hate. The boys did the bread with the hate, the girls did the bread with the love. I'm sorry, that's what it was. And we would go over and talk real nice to the bread, and the boys' bread molded twice as fast as the girls' bread.
Yeah, and the way I see this is it's just propagation of a wave. So in theory, if we had a standing wave function, and let's call it the feminine, now we crossed a measurement of a kinetic wave like the masculine, you would get propagation in the kinetic radio frequency. Like you would have a sperm and an egg, and they would come together, and they would make a physical component of that called human.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there are carrier waves, and there are kinetic waves that propagate, and we can see this in directed energy weapons.
Yeah, everybody's worried about those things. We're seeing vehicles with those on top of them in space.
Yes, and you know what? Here's the important thing that I see with these directed energy weapons when they're used in a different fashion is that if someone puts out a standing wave, it's almost like swimming in beautiful water, and then someone puts sharks in it and makes a kinetic effect in that water. So in all actuality, the standing wave isn't bad for you. Mm-hmm. It's just bad for you when it meets the other kinetic wave. And so in law, it's hard to say that, like, it's kind of like the highway system. There is nothing wrong with the highway system. Well, then why do people die on it?
Human error?
Well, no, you add humans to it. You add cars to it.
Right.
So standing alone, it does nothing. It's like a gun. Standing alone doesn't hurt a thing. You add another thing to it, and it becomes kinetic.
Moonface 5 has a question that I'd like to answer and then get your thoughts on my dumb answer. Moonface 5 wants to know if water works like grounding. Yes, I would say it's double because water will magnify frequency. Am I right, Eric?
Well, first of all, let's look at the component of water, H2O, with the hydrogen bond of 104 degrees separation, all the way up to 112.3 separation as speculated by some people. Let's look at water as a polar molecule. So we have polar molecules and nonpolar molecules, and polar molecules are molecules that have a potential charge or a potential to be charged. So it doesn't necessarily mean that the molecule has a plus or a negative. It just means that it has a potential to that charge, positive or negative. So it can actually switch from end to end in the molecular structure. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, the earth is frequency, water is frequency, we're frequency, Invader Zim has a question. Have you ever seen or know of if there is a copy of Tesla's wireless energy blueprint? Maybe a rumor of a second copy of Nikola's invention.
Okay. So his experiment with that wireless technology happened in two places. One Colorado Springs and the other one in New York on an island. So you can go through, and yes, there's a lot of instruments out there. Like I said, John G. Trump was the one that took Tesla's information when he died and acquired it for District of Columbia. And many things happened in Majestic 12, such as a man was given high doses of LSD and then supposedly leapt from a skyscraper window to his death. Some people speculate that he was pushed.
Well, there's a whole doggone project of using LSD and torture of brainwashing to make people before they had the, I guess, the mind control, whatever mess they have now.
Yes. A lot of that stuff happened in Canada. Because before 9/11, the District of Columbia could not spy on people. And so we had systems in place over the world called Carnivore and Echelon. And in one of them, Carnivore and Echelon, one of them is in Canada, the other one is in England. And the one in Canada, you have military personnel overseeing Canadian personnel spying on U.S. citizens. But the chain of custody was that the U.S. was not spying on citizens. The Canadians were, and we just purchased their data sets from the Canadians that already spied. Now, in the LSD programs, we had programs that were running of ours in Canada on people, but we also had them in Vietnam, if you're familiar with the story of Jacob's Ladder, where they sprayed a platoon with LSD 25, I believe, and it ended up as in self-mutilation for most of them, and I believe one or two survived the encounter, and I believe they're the ones that sat down and watched everyone mutilate themselves. They actually tore their faces off and their eyes out.
Oh my God. Yeah, I've heard a little bit of, oh, speaking of, have you heard that that our chemicals for our Adam calls them plain farts, that's supposed to be suspended for a bit because it was infected with the new virus?
I'm not familiar with what you're talking about, but again, I go back to the technology that we have today, that the radio frequencies, if you're listening to this show, you're listening to it via a radio frequency.
Right.
And the only difference is in this technology that I've showed you through that YouTube water memory and PCR technology is the PCR technology. And I believe that there are other methods out there to assemble sequences of DNA that could possibly happen outside the lab.
Well, Invader, we hope it don't get taken down. Let me tell you, but they misunderstood one of my titles and took it down, and then when I questioned it, they put it back up in 30 minutes. But we hope we don't get taken down.
Well, everything is temporary.
Yeah, but if they take it down, they take it down.
Yeah. In negative and positive law, there are provisions, what you're hoping to be provided, and then there are things that you are wanting to avoid.
Right.
And there's always going to be that. There's always going to be a positive and a negative. There's always going to be a potential to both.
Right.
And that's what water represents, is the potential to both.
Oh, CJ Blaze gave me a good upper atmospheric aerosol injections is what she told me to call it. It's supposed to have been tainted with this new virus. And somebody asked, how do you think they spread the virus so fast?
Okay, so aerosol is a method of spreading mass. It could be a bioagent, it could be a chemical agent, it could just be air. In the next question, I say that I'm warning people that radio spectrum vectors are what I'm concerned about. Here's an example. If I wanted to test water for, say, HIV, and it had no bioagent in it, I would have to listen to it, just like this doctor did on that video, who won the Nobel Peace Prize. He listened to the water sample that was exposed to HIV, and was able to take that resonant value, that sound, and make the HIV virus in another lab far, far away using PCR technology. Well, let's go a step further. The reason why I gave you that laser communication handset knowledge is, what if we shined a laser light at water and received the reflection of the laser light? Would the laser light hold the memory of the water?
Yes, he said meat shortage. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I was answering a question.
So yes, absolutely. The laser light will hold all the information of the water if it reflected off of the water. So I'm letting you know that if water has come in contact with anything, whether it's atmospheric water or if it's pooled water, water will have the memory of that substance.
Bobcat's not sure he knows what radio spectrum vector is.
Okay, a vector is a method or a way, and radio spectrum is where everything is defined by its frequency. And so what I'm trying to tell you is that radio propagates in your computer, and it propagates into a vibration called sound, and another one called light. And imagine if you had like a machine on your kitchen counter that was plugged into the internet or had an antenna that could receive radio frequency, and it created turkey sandwiches, or it created, say, a cup of HIV.
Well, Sweet Rims has a good point. She said, if we can send pictures via radio waves, we can send anything radio waves.
That is correct. In fact, scientists actually beamed a photon from one laboratory to the next laboratory, just like in Star Trek.
And then Invader wants to know if what is the quantum theory or the quantum computer what is the purpose of both besides weaponizing technology?
Well, first of all, I don't hold the accolades that most people would want for these comments.
Okay.
But I'm not most people. I think Max Planck was quite privileged in the sense of knowing that if you choose to measure something, you will find it. And I think that's what God has been trying to teach us through the Holy Scriptures, is when you step his way, you will find him.
Okay. They want to know what you think about the COVID vax.
Some things I just don't like to think about. I don't need anything from the devil.
Good answer. All of us in here are no, no, and no. But that old crazy doctor that's on that team that I don't like and can never remember his name, he said that his idea is that when you go to get your driver's license, you have to have your vax card with you.
I say we should pray for these people.
There's a lot of evilness in this. Yes, there is. But we can pray as we might. But we have the book of Revelations and the Bible as a whole that gives us prophecy that these things are just destined to happen.
Yes, and like I like to say, pray as we march, and we're going to march forward.
Oh, Bobcat, honey, I know you're paying attention.
Yeah, I'm marching forward, and I'm praying as I march.
Well, I think that when it really hits the fan, I'm getting ready to do a live. I don't know if you were watching before I brought you on, but I'm going to do a live and give some facts that's very interesting. That there was an act that was passed in 2000 that was foiled by the special day in September, that is going to usher in the NWO in a big way, and they're going to make it so completely appealing to everyone that Nobody's going to fight it. I mean, they're going to do away with mortgages and student loans completely. And look, they've already started, oh, we're going to put your mortgage off 3 months, 6 months until further notice, no student loan payments or interest on those student loan payments. Everybody's going to make a same salary of $5,000. It's a lot of socialism with, the one world religion, one world government kind of thing.
And is it socialism or is it reparations and restitution? Because this is an army that marched over this land called District of Columbia. So yes. Who's claiming to be with this army?
It's NERSA and GERSA. Have you heard of that? Have you heard those acronyms?
No, I'm not familiar.
It's or NESRA, GESRA. I don't know how you say it. It's
NESRA.
NESARA and GESARA. If you read this, there's some. I'm not going to go completely down the rabbit holes, but there's some occult and some Luciferian.
Okay, let's look at this way. So if everything is a cult, the army is a cult. So why do we have people saying that they need to have a president of this army when they don't even want to be in the army? So my next question is, do you really want to be in that army? Because you have to be in the army to vote for their president. And if you're going to be in that army, you're going to be treated like a soldier. So shut up and get in line and take orders, because that's what you do in the army is you shut up, you get in line, and you take orders.
Well, that's what.
So why you don't complain?
Yep. Well,
so all these people who are arguing over the semantics of a leader is because they're arguing that they're in the army and their army they want a leader for. And I'm saying they just possibly have picked the wrong army.
Sweet Rims, the acts were passed in 2000, and they were supposed to have been enacted 120 days before the next election, and that was foiled and stopped.
Yeah, so acts and elections are for officers of the army. So is this person an officer of the army? Do they pay taxes?
Who you talking about? What person?
The comment.
Oh, no, question. I was just asking you if you had heard of that act, the NES. I always forget what they're.
Sure. So what I'm trying to say is all acts of Congress are for all army people, all officers in the army.
Yes.
If you pay taxes, you are an officer.
Well, this little new thing, if they pass it, they're going to do away with the IRS and only on non-essential items. Look how big non-essential. If you look at this act, and the terminology in it, all of a sudden, daily, you hear this new terminology now. And only non-essentials will be taxed. Everybody will have the same income.
Not everybody. Only people in the army.
You need to... I'm going to do a live on it. I'm going to pull it up, but I'm not going to go down the Q rabbit hole. But it's GESER.
Okay, I feel that you're struggling to comprehend this paradigm. So before the army marched over this land, what was there?
Just land. Just people doing their thing.
And people of God, sure. And then when the army marched over it, it wanted soldiers, so some people joined up with that army. Did it make everyone join the army? No, not everyone has to be a U.S. citizen.
No, but if you're going to live here, you have to have your driver's license, social security number, birth certificate, and all that.
No, that's wrong.
Okay.
Nope. Under UCC 1-308, you can reserve your rights. Under UCC 1-103, you can declare your rights common law.
Without doing any paperwork?
Well, you've heard of those crazy men who wear those black hats and run around in buggies and sell, raw milk to people who don't believe in God.
Right.
The Mennonites, those people are doing just fine without any driver's license, without any birth certificates.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, why? Because they claim their rights to God. It's just like in law with United States versus Anthony, Susan B. Anthony. She voted, and of course she was arrested, and of course she was found guilty. She's a woman, and the 14th Amendment, just like the judge says, it confers no right to vote. Why do you think women have the 19th Amendment?
Well,
Because the 14th Amendment confers no right to vote. It just confers a right to be in the army.
Sweet Rims is asking, how do you take back your rights by using those codes you just gave that the Mennonites and the oh, what are they, Mennonites and
Well, I haven't read a case yet that a woman or a black man or a mixed race, as described in law, has ever fought for their rights before the highest court, claiming their rights come from God. They've only fought for their civil rights, their rights under a man, their rights under an army, and they have won those particular rights.
right?
But not one woman from all the reading I've done, not one woman has gone before the court and said that she has rights under God. She's only wanted to get paid and get civil rights.
Amish. Yes, Amish. Thank y'all. They know I
Yeah,
have
Mennonites, the Amish, sure.
Yeah. So they just use those, they just spit out those two codes, or did they go to court and get awarded the position
Oh
of
gosh, there's all roads lead to Rome. Every drop of water leads to God. So there's a bunch of ways that you can secure your rights. One of the first ways is to know that you have them and where they are derived from. Who's the principal? And if God is your principal, keep it that way. And if man is your principal, join the army.
what
Have
did you say
a president.
What did you say those codes were?
UCC 1-308, formerly 207. And this is where you can reserve your rights.
UCC what? You did that too fast. UCC
1-308.
1-308. UCC 1-308. That was formerly USCC 207.
The UCC, Uniform Commercial Code 1-207, it used to be.
Okay.
And here you can reserve your rights, and it has to do with acceptance or performance. So in every contract, you can either accept a really crappy job, or you can make them perform to the way they had agreed to. And, I will let people know, if they're looking this up, you can get on websites like Cornell Law, but if you read these websites, they're for entertainment purposes or educational purposes.
Tina, what she was talking about was slightly different, but she's going to come back on and talk about how to get out from under we have someone that is teaching people how to get out from under the incorporation of the United States. But I think if we'll just hold on, we're not going to have a corporation in the United States much longer. So it's not going to matter.
Oh, I disagree. Where the Army goes from here, I'm not sure, but the Army's always going to be the Army.
Well, that GERSA, NERSA, whatever those acronyms were, it says that we will go back to our original, the United States. We will own our own property, our own birth certificates. We will not be part of the corporation anymore.
Well, first of all, to have a birth certificate to own your own means that you own your own corporation, So let's back up with the paradigm and say there won't be any birth certificates, because a certificate in law is to be certified, and certified are to be verified, and verified in law means to validate.
All right.
So these are all legal words. And when you become free, you step out of that language into common law.
Right.
And you can't get into common law today without the UCC, the Uniform Commercial Code, from my opinion. And I'm no legal expert by any standpoint.
No, if it's just your opinion, that's fine.
Yeah, well, it's from the hardships that I've endured and what I've read, and it makes sense to me because you have to know your rights to be able to reserve them, and then your rights are no good in your back pocket until you assert them, and that's where I assert my common law form is in UCC 1-103.
Now, did you do that paperwork and send it through Atlanta and New York for it to be United States and international?
I have a method where when I put someone on notice, the notice is to all. It's to all the officers, and it's their responsibility to propagate their own paperwork. So, notice to principal is notice to agent. Notice to agent is notice to principal. And this notice is to all successors. So, no matter who shows up in the rank and file, I think that's a pretty long rabbit hole to go down to. Now, the rabbit hole that I run to is the Department of Interior because of the land. The War Department is within that. If you want to learn about land patents and about land, I suggest that you figure out if you're east of the Ohio River or west of the Ohio River, because from what I've read, only land west of the Ohio River was given away as land patents by District of Columbia, and the rest was private. And this is why we have states that are considered Commonwealth east of the Ohio River.
Yeah, Virginia's a Commonwealth.
Yeah, what does that mean?
I've never known. Nobody in Virginia could ever explain it to me.
No, they can't. And this is how I feel that most people who say that they can get you out of the system really don't know. Because if they can't describe the land from which you stand, then they have no argument with standing. Because the question is always where. Where, when, who, why. But without the where, it doesn't matter. So you need to be able to describe in law where. And where has to do with, well, who ceded that land to that army? Who conquered the land? Who ceded it? CEDED. Who ceded the jurisdiction of the land? Where are the negotiations? Where is the requisite filing and the acceptance filing? Because in 40 USC 255, it states that no state has filed. So the District of Columbia is trying to say that no state has filed for those rights. And this goes back to James versus Dravo, or Dravo if you're Francais. And you can start reading this, and it's a part of the element of law is where. And as soon as you can describe to me where, then you probably have a good comprehension of law. Because in the element of law, it would be where did the crime supposedly happen, allegedly happen.
Yes, I'm going to do a live on that next week. She was talking about Trump's going to have to announce that we're no longer a corporation and he's no longer the president, and elections have to be held in 120 days. That's what that Gersa mess is.
Yeah, and all of the Army officers will gather at the polling places and vote for their president.
Well, it's supposed to be a different kind of president and a different kind of Congress. And nobody that's there now, it's going to be supposedly all different.
Yeah, where?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah, so you have to describe where in law, and if that land was ceded to the people, like you're suggesting, and if the jurisdiction was ceded to the people.
Sweet Rims, it says elections for a new type of government. So
yeah, in the army.
Yeah.
A new type in the army. But the army hasn't changed.
Now, Smiley Blue says Trump has already liberated us from the Queen in the UK, which would mean we're under our original constitution, not the capitalized
That's funny. That's funny, and I would contend with that easily if you read Article 6 in the Constitution.
So
because Article 6 describes that this is the supreme law of the land, but so is and this gets very scary, every treaty before and after this Constitution is the supreme law of the land. And everything east of the Ohio River, most of that land was owned by royalty. So I disagree with that statement for sure. He didn't separate us.
I think it's going to the NWO minus Hulk Hogan is what I think both of those stand for. So, well,
by the way, that's a chuckle. I think that's funny. I like that.
Well, we try to talk in code. But we're getting way off topic. We were just going to talk about the water and the electricity and the air and we need to do a different live on all of this mess.
Sure.
That would be great.
But I don't mind speaking to it because it's still principled in law, just like water.
Right.
Because where does water flow? Where is water water? You're always going to ask where on any question. And this is one of the biggest things to learn about tackling any subject matter, personal matter jurisdiction, is where. You just have to ask the question where. And you apply that to all questions.
Oh, Michelle, honey, I'm not tired. I don't mean to look tired. I'm thinking. He's got my brain because I'm looking tired. I have to cut us short because my daughter-in-law is calling me, wanting me to come get my grandbaby. So that's why I tried to start us early so I could get more. Oh, Tim Bogg says my brain's tired. Oh, yeah, my brain's whirling, let me tell y'all. But
yeah, this is plenty. It's plenty of information for everybody. This is a lot to get a lot of people started in the right direction. When you realize that things can materialize out of radio frequency just like mass materializes out of light, then you'll realize that we don't need a waterborne vector or an airborne vector when there is a radio-borne vector that can contaminate waterborne vectors and air vectors through radio frequencies.
Right. Let me text
it's a serious game.
Yeah, it is.
It's very serious, and we need to step up to the plate and realize we are living in the days of Star Trek. We have devices that can shine a light on you and tell us your temperature, but it could also shine a light on you and tell me your DNA sequence profile and tell me if you have HIV or herpes or C19 just by shining a laser light at you.
Yeah,
we have that technology.
Yeah, we don't need a chip. They're using lights.
Yeah, we don't need a chip. They have a light. Exactly. And the chips are more for the lower technology, the 5G technology, to where they're offering this in commerce. While the military plays with their light, they're offering the radio frequency at the chip level to commerce so they can make more money in this space-time. So they're just rolling out technology. It's old technology, but they still want to make money. It's just like the first cell phone. People bought them, but they also bought the best cell phone today.
Right.
It's still old technology.
Right.
they're still making tons of money off of it, and this is why they don't want to give us the new technology, because we're still buying into the old technology. So when we stop buying into the old technology, they'll release the new technology to us.
Well, I started a new trend that we are event planners. Everything that we encounter is an event, and try to get away from this prepper idea that's so negative, that the C and the I and the A came up with the term conspiracy theory and associated it with event planners. So, we try to plan for these things, but you can't always plan if you don't know. And there is so much craziness that we're not privy to. Only the elites are privy to most of the information. We're not going to know what hits us half the time before it's already there.
Yeah, and I go back to the principle: perfect the step in front of you. Perfect what is in front of you. Get yourself footed, and that will perfect the next step. So, you can't be running out of the house with your coat on and no boots.
Right.
So get yourself together, get it tightened up, and then start asking the proper questions. And the first one is, where am I?
Right. Okay, well, I need to cut us off and go get that grandbaby.
Well, enjoy yourself. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, thanks for
shout out to the world.
Being on, and you just let me know when you're available and what topic you would like to talk about, and we'll bring you back on.
Sure, and if anyone has suggestions, I have a palette of information from all spectrums that humans delve into. So
Yeah.
whatever people want to know more about, I can point them in that direction, perhaps.
Right, and we got the email in there. You can always email me with any topic suggestions. I even have it in my about section. I take any topic. Oh, well, they're knocking on my door. So
excellent. Well, enjoy yourself.
Come on in. There you are. I guess his brother brought him. Here's my grandbaby. He made it over here.
Well, God bless.
Oh, okay. Bye-bye. Yeah, I'm still on my call. I was trying to get off. Oh, his mama brought him. See you tomorrow. There's his little scarf. Listen, we've got cold weather.
Where's my candy?
Where's your candy? He's wanting that Easter bunny candy. I don't know. We'll have to find it in a minute, okay? Let Nanny finish what she's doing. He's 3.5, Eric.
And he's wonderful.
He spends almost every night with me, but usually not Monday nights. But tonight was a little bit of a last minute surprise for me. But that's okay. He's always welcome. He's my little buddy.
Yes,
but
of course.
Yeah, so if anybody has any suggestions of things that they would topics for Eric to talk about, we would love to have him back on there. So since he's here, I'm going to let Eric go. I'm going to talk to y'all for a few minutes, and then I'll go. So thank you so much, Eric, for giving us your time. I appreciate it greatly, and you're always welcome.
Thank you. God bless you all.
You too. God bless you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. He's just so knowledgeable about so many things, man. I know, words, terminology, a little bit about this, a little bit about that. I don't know a great deal about anything. I'm telling y'all right now. So, anyway, I wanted to answer. I see Bones. Yes, I have heard the military has stopped taking new recruits. Yes, they might not have passed the NESERA, but they did pass the act of the GESERA. Yes, they did in the year 2000. It was passed. Let me see. Somebody had another question. Oh, the Constitution. If you will look at your driver's license and your birth certificate, all of the letters of your name are capitalized. All of the letters of the U.S. Constitution, comma, Inc., are capitalized. Our original Constitution was a little U and a big S. U.S. Constitution. And if you look up the Bar Association, it means British something. For the laws that our attorneys follow is British. The reason that we have the gold fringe on our flag is because we're under maritime law. And it is supposed to be by July 5th or 6th, because the election, it has to be 120 days before the election. There's something real odd about this presidential flag and emblem not being on the podium when the president speaks. And I don't care who all he has. When he, before it totally went away, when he was in the Rose Garden, had all those goofballs up there with him. They outside on the porch, patio, whatever you want to call it, the White House and the Rose Garden, they had those two flags there, and his emblem was on that podium. So it doesn't matter. If he is speaking, that flag's supposed to be there, that emblem's supposed to be there. And there's a lot of stuff that is going down, being speculated. Oh, thank you, Jay Stone. I always forget about my WVPM news. But I don't think that's where we're going at all. I think that's a bunch of crap. I think that it is time and prophecy is being fulfilled. And it's getting ready to go like Snafu says in WO minus Hulk Hogan. And that's prophecy. Should we even try to get into the year of the Jubilee of the Bible? What do you mean? Talk about it? No, I'm not getting into it right now. I got a grandbaby that is pacifying himself. Listen, my water bill's low. May I have your email, please? Yes, WVPM at proton, PROTON, mail, protonmail.com. It's real easy. He's pacifying himself right now, but in just a little short while, he won't be pacifying himself. But we've got a lot of things going on. I saw somebody was answering somebody else saying, oh, well, we won't have the rapture till after the 7-year tribulation. Let me tell you, I'm not going to get into that argument either, because there are those that believe in pre-trib, mid-trib, post-trib rapture. We could go on with that for days if we wanted to get into that. Thank you, Jai. Yes, there's my email. WVPM at protonmail.com. Thank you, darling. Appreciate you. But there are people that have different thoughts about it. Now, I do not think, my personal opinion, and Lord, don't ask me to quote you scripture. I've prayed to be able to spit out scripture, like so many people can, but that's just not my gift. Caretaker is my gift. Go love that baby. Oh yeah, I have him all the time. Let me tell you, he gets plenty of love from Nanny. He's not paying me attention right now. And he does that. He's always alone, so we've taught him how to have independent playtime. But it says we will go through hard times. Everyone will go through hard times. But my interpretation of what I read and what I've been taught all my life is that the church will not go through tribulation. So I am a pre-trib believer. There are those that believe the church will go through the first 7 years or 3.5 years of it. They're mid-trib. And then there are post-trib that believe at the end of the 7 years they will be raptured. So, yes, we are promised hard times, but I don't think that's going to include the tribulation. For when the dead is raised first and then the believers raised, it's during tribulation when anyone that will call upon the Lord's name will be saved. Okay, so if during the tribulation anyone that calls on the name of the Lord will be saved, then that would mean that my thinking, my rationalization, That would mean that before tribulation, the church will, the dead will be raised first and then the church. Just um, my thinking. Let me tell you, sweet Rims, I said I got sick, had a bad MS relapse, and worked and done just fine until February of last year. And then I had 4 relapses in a row. Ended up in hospital in June, hadn't worked, went through my savings by the end of June, 1st of July. Thought I was going to make a little money with my YouTube channel, and YouTube won't let me. There's some problem. I just won't take time to figure it out. Why can't be monetized? So I finally said, nah. So I applied for my disability, and I said, we were talking about it last night, and I said, I've been under a state of emergency for 14 months now. So there's not a whole lot with the shutdown because I wouldn't drive my truck because I wouldn't want to waste the money for the gas. Okay, I think I get that. So I ate on a budget, got the utilities down real low. Didn't go anywhere, didn't do anything, did what I wanted, but I never want to do anything. So yeah, I felt like I've been under a state of emergency for a year, for 14 months. So this isn't any different for me. Went out once a week. But when it's raining, which it usually is these days, I don't feel good. It hurts to be out in the weather. So, okay. I think Eric did an awesome job for us. Man, he knows a little bit about, or a whole lot about a little bit of everything, doesn't he? Since there's no time with God, I think those who have died have already raptured. No, the Bible says that the dead will be raised first. So, I don't know where they are. About that. Who is this natural man? What natural man? I don't know who a natural man is. I must have missed the conversation. Oh Lord. I think of a natural man. I think of somebody that don't want to take a bath, and I don't want nothing to do with that. I don't want nothing to do with anything. It's not a rapture, it's a resurrection. Yes, resurrection. Rapture, the word rapture is not even in the Bible. That word is not even in the Bible. Find it and let me know if you do. It's not in there. Okay, everybody. Well, that was fun. I do want to get off here and off topic. How long do you freeze rice before putting it in sealed buckets? I freeze everything. Rice, pasta, flour, cornmeal, any dry good. Any dry good. I freeze it a minimum of 4 days. 4 solid days. Speaking of, I finally have those beef roast cooked. I've got to make my vegetable soup and get it canned. So that is on the list real soon. I don't know if tonight or tomorrow, but anyway, so we got a whole lot of information. Got to look things up. Man, I hope y'all took notes. I'm gonna have to watch the replay and take some notes. I learn new things and take them bits and pieces. What, honey?
Stir the brown water.
Oh, well, don't let the rocks go down the sink. Get your little stones out, and you can dump the water out if it's dirty and start new. Nanny's going to help you in a second. So, yeah, he wants to get his. Yes, if you want to see the call to Marfoogle, yes, absolutely, go to CJ Blaze. She edited all of that. It's great. She's got Eric's call down too, with a few flashes of advertisement for me in it. But yes, absolutely listen to his call. And yes, Robin, you can Anybody can email me. It's on my about section on my channel. Anybody can email me. I doubt anybody could beat my number one emailer. Tina's my number one. Oh, Sonny, you haven't been here. Well, honey, I'm so sorry. But Tina's my number one emailer. Let me tell you, Tina can give me some information. So I'm bragging on you, Tina. I don't want to make anybody feel bad, but Tina has sent me more emails than you would care to know about in a day's time. Canned beans have a longer expiration date, shelf life than dried beans. You would think the other way around. Yeah, you would. Um, Thank you, Nathan. I appreciate that. Love you too. I love everybody. I mean it. Listen, y'all don't have to come in here and watch me. Um, Now, when we have real good guests, my guests is what I think makes my show crazy. Oh, Sonny, honey, I'm sorry. But I just love gabbing with everybody. Love each and every one of you. Um, and always remember, don't be scared. Just be prepared. I always had a different meaning for that when I said that to a friend a couple of years ago. That's how I got that byline. It just flopped out of my mouth. She said, "How can you study all this stuff and prepare and not be scared?" And she wouldn't know how I slept at night with what I was doing. And I said, "Because I'm prepared. I don't have to be scared." And that's how my byline came about. That was a real conversation with a friend that I worked with. And now we just have to be prepared for anything. And I really think now it's don't be scared, just be prepared. And that's with God, with our salvation. That is the only way that we can prepare because man, they they have hit us with this and caught everybody off guard, and everybody that swore up and down they were so awoke or awake or whatever you want to call it. Who in the world planned for this mess? Nobody. Nobody did. So now we just have to be prepared with our salvation. That's all we can do and pray. Um, and be happy for any second, every second that we have that we've got a roof over our head and food on the table, our health, even minimal health, the health of our children, grandchildren. We're blessed. We have so many blessings. We're born in America. We don't have to worry about drop bombs so far dropping on our heads every day. But always remember, say your prayers, pray for our YouTube family, pray for our nation, pray for the world leaders. Um, Always plead the blood of Jesus and put on the armor of God, pray for that hedge of protection. And don't y'all ever, ever, ever doubt for 1 second that I take any of you for granted. And always remember that I love each and every one of you. And until next time, I do love you. Gonna go take care of that grandbaby now. Everybody enjoy the replay.